I guess we're super good to kick off the fashion stage, day number 2 at NFC Lisbon, with a very important topic to discuss here today, which is redefining, first of all, defining and then redefining the digital identity for luxury houses. Today with me, I have, as always, amazing, interesting thought leaders who have a story to share with all of you. Let me start with a gentleman on my left, Victor, coming from Being Crypto, who is going to share his thoughts not only as crypto space and blockchain expert, but also as a media representative. We have amazing Alexandra, co-founder and co-CEO of SIM, as well as Carlota, my dear friend from Paris, founder of Beyond Luxury. How are you feeling, guys, today?
Great. Good. I'm feeling great. Thank you for having us, Nikki. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. I know that we're just kicking day 2 here. I see that more and more people are joining. So I do believe that by the end of our panel, we should be full always, right? I want to kick off our conversation by defining digital identity for luxury houses before we go into the topic of redefining and renovating it. I mean, according to you guys, and let's start with you, Alexandra, what is the very right way for brands, for luxury brands in 2024 to define their digital identity? I mean, is it more centric around the brand itself, or is it more centric about customers and clients of the brand?
I think there is no way such as the right way if we're talking about digital innovation, because if we're talking about innovation, the main thing is to try different options. So I think it's important that we focus on both, on the customer side and the brand side. So we cannot lose the brand identity as well as not pay attention to what the customers need. So it's important brands right now focus on both sides and try different things.
So basically a mix of brand and customers. Carlota, do you agree with this statement?
I definitely agree that there's no right way. I think that there is one angle that is very important to tackle, which is the client, then the brand, and then obviously the products. I truly believe that the way to innovate in the luxury industry is to understand that we're going from a product-centric industry to an experience-centric industry. And understanding this allows brands to go into experiences in different realms, not only in the physical world, but in digital world, to have their identity clear for themselves and also for their space, for their clients, allowing also their clients to express themselves in the most effective and creative way with luxury brands, which is really what luxury is about. It's about identity, self-expression, and really being able to go and transcend further into an emotion and a dream. And then allowing products to have a journey and an experience in and of itself, and removing the fact that they're just products, but also giving them identities that allow them to have more of a life than just ownership.
Giving the identity that raises some emotions, some feelings, that is something that I personally love when I'm talking about the identity of the brand. So I really appreciate you bringing this topic up. Victor, I am super interested to hear what you have to say on this, because I see that you have your shiny notes here, and I see that you have a lot out there. Please, let us know, what are your thoughts, my friend?
I mean, I couldn't say it better. Remind me the whole question so I can answer it the best.
You have a lot of notes, so I see. Do you believe that the definition of brand identity in 2024 is centered more around the brand itself, brand operations, brand positioning, or is it more centered around the customer's journey, customer satisfaction, if I may say so?
Okay, makes sense. I would say customer. It's I think the brands think long term, and it's not just how they want to portray themselves right now. It's they want to accustom customers and to have and thanks to this kind of technology to have future customers accustomed to them. So I would say it's more about the customer journey, so the customer can feel the brand and be connected to it on the long term and not just on the short term.
I love it. I feel like we're done with the defining digital identity right now. And now it's time to jump into the topic of redefining it, re-innovating, re-digitalizing, should I say. I do believe that in the last couple of years, if you look through the lens of digital fashion innovation, talking about immersive experiences, talking about metaverse, NFTs, Web3, blockchain, there is a lot that tech side of fashion has to offer to traditional fashion. What is your take on the following topic, Carlota? How do you believe the brands and the brand's identity for luxury brands, for fashion brands, for beauty brands have been evolving throughout the last couple of years through the lens of all of this technological advancement that I just mentioned?
I think a lot of brands have been trying different things. As Alexandra was saying before, it's very important to understand what your path is as a brand, beauty, fashion, in the luxury space and using technology, because there's one thing that is important to understand is that luxury really thrives off of creation, right? And creatives are the most important seed of what luxury brings to people, the experiences, the emotions, and those dreams that we're looking for when we're looking at luxury brands. So seeing tech as a tool that can help you get closer is the best way to look at it, in my point of view, because technology only helps the luxury industry if it helps be a lever to get closer to those clients and get closer to that dream. So you see some brands, for example, going into blockchain, doing some Web3, different projects and testing to see if those are actual needs and wants of their clients and actually allow them to get closer to what they're looking for. And it's really interesting to see, especially the new business models that are starting to break off of those things, right? New spaces created in different worlds, new identities created for products that allow not only the tracking until the point of sale, but also after, and allowing there to be more different avenues for business models for brands. And we see this with a lot of different brands. I think Kiki is one of them that we've been looking at a lot lately, a more tangible one in beauty that has doing NFC nails that are actually very interesting to see what you can do with all this nail art that is going on today and the hype around it. How can you implement technology to go one step further? And also, I think the VIA, for example, program at Louis Vuitton is a very good example, putting physical items on chain, which is personally what I really truly believe in, is putting physical items on chain and looking at the power of blockchain in this sense. But all of these different avenues of luxury brands are very interesting to see. And I think they themselves are testing and seeing if that goes, if that doesn't go. And that's very beautiful, I think, to see the test, and even when they realize that it's not the way to go, to pivot into something else, and to see the power of the technology that we're looking at today.
One thing that I want to highlight from what you just said is the term needs and wants of your customer, because those are two completely different things. And successful brands, successful luxury brands, are those who are standing somewhere in the middle between this needs from one side and wants of customers from the other side. And I do believe that technology itself, you mentioned Kiki World or Chipped, for example, our friend Vinny from Paris as well, who is partnering with Kiki World. This is something that customers need, right? Nails, fresh nails, good design. And this is also something that they want to have some technology, to have some additional gamified element, to have some innovation to justify what are you buying for this crazy amount of money, to justify that fashion, beauty, luxury can be not just to see, but also to feel, also to play, also to enjoy. Victor, I see that you are fully agreeing with what I'm saying here. What is your take, especially taking into account that you have been covering fashion space together with me for some long time now? You've been hearing of all of this latest technological advancements around AI, around digital marketplaces, the blockchain itself. What is your take? How is it helping luxury brands to evolve? And do we need more of it?
Thank you. Tell me if you agree, but I think in the beginning, like fashion got into the Web3 space because there was a hype around it. So every fashion brand like launched their NFT collection, or because there was a hype around NFTs, then there was a hype around metaverse. So it was like, if you don't launch your NFT collection, what are you doing? So it was more, I don't know if you agree, but they needed to be there just because it was trendy. So they wanted to be there. But at first, did they really see why it was important? Maybe some of them, but I'm not sure everybody did. I think the evolution is now like the fashion brands totally know why it's important. So maybe the same technology was there a few years ago, but it was not understood the way it is now. So now they understand how traceability is so important. I mean, so like they can use blockchain and for traceability, for authenticity, AI also. So it's more the understanding of the technology than the evolution in the last 2 years, I think. So it's in that way that I think it evaluated the most, the understanding of it.
I love it. I love it. Alexandra, when we're talking about SIM, I'm thinking of innovation. SIM has been innovating fashion space for the last couple of years, and it has been different technological solutions like digital marketplace. Yesterday we had big announcement with Solana Foundation on DPPs, about which we're going to talk just in a few moments. But the question I have to you, the same as I asked guys, but from a bit different perspective. Technological advancement is here and brands need it, but how to make sure that traditional brands are also sticking to their DNA? Because we're talking about digital identity, but they also have their identity that has been there with the brand for tens, if not hundreds of years. How to make sure that those DPPs, digital marketplace, blockchain, are not moving brand completely in a different direction?
It's a very good question, Nikki. You know, I think there is no such thing again as the right or wrong direction. It's important to keep the balance here. So again, I think brands need to try different things, starting with mentioned yesterday, digital product passports. That's not just a thing, by the way, that brands can possibly try. That's going to be an obligation for brands that want to sell across the European Union as soon as 2026, 27. So brands need to slowly adapt to that, and they need to start doing it now. But when talking about other digital technologies, again, going into NFTs, AR try-ons, digital garments, I think it's important that brand can try it step by step. And it's important to educate those brands and for brands to educate the customers and their end users. So doing something completely different, that would be a mistake. But trying it slowly, step by step, it's important. It's important because brands, they need to move together with their consumers. They need to tap new people, younger generations. And the only way to do so is to try new technologies, because you cannot be, on the same for ages. You need changes in the industry.
I fully agree with you. And I feel like since we already touched upon the topic of DPPs, if you ask me, throughout the whole day one of NFC Lisbon, DPP was perhaps the biggest topic I have been hearing from different people here on Fashion Stage. I'm not talking only about speakers, but actually people who were discussing the digital fashions, the innovation, people who were talking to speakers. So Alex, coming back to you, do you believe that DPPs, specifically DPPs on blockchain, is the latest innovation that we can talk about when it comes to digitalizing luxury fashion? Do you believe this is the biggest thing digital space has to offer to fashion brands in 2024?
I believe that digital product passports just have a very clear value for both consumers and the brands, and for companies like Seam. So when we talk about innovations and different features, I think it's important that we're not just showing some nonsense to brands. Again, it was important for brands to try things back in 2021 with all this, NFT boom. But digital product passports is something a bit different. Again, it's a very clear value. Clear value in terms of transparency. Customers can track the item journey from production, from the creation of it to the disposal. And for brands, they can get cash back on resale. They can get better analytics. So it's again very clear value. So I do believe it's a very strong feature that brands should adapt like now.
And we're doing it already now. A lot of brands like Prada, Moncler, they have been using it for a while, but now it's a question of mass adoption. It's a question of doing it right. Also bringing extra tech side to it, referring to the blockchain itself. Carlota, what has been your experience with DPPs so far?
I think DPPs are really just NFTs, right? That we've called DPPs for this sense. And I think that was very important at the time for luxury brands not to be scared of DPPs, right? If we called them NFTs identity, that would have been a rejection. So I think DPPs have a very interesting use for in the luxury industry. Everything is tracked to the T until the point of sale. The point of sale happens, and then you know nothing about your product ever again. So right now, looking at the luxury industry already has 8% of everything going on that is actually happening in the resale market. And DPPs are allowing for many things. And one of those things are to actually allow for resale to be more safe, to protect the IP of a company, to protect the product of a brand, to also allow those DPPs to show where that authenticity came from, the provenance, the history, the supply chain that happened through it, how it was made, who it was owned by, and really allowing it to have an easy sell. And I think this is one of the most, in my perspective, one of the most interesting things to look at a circular economy, and allowing really to put physical items on chain, and of course also not only look at it in that way, but also looking at it in the way of, well, only digital products as well are something that we can look at as something that is helping that sustainability side of, we all want to look and express ourselves in a certain way. And so having only digital fashion is one way to do it, but also having physical items on chain and allowing those to really be able to create this circular economy that we're trying to push with the biggest innovations in fashion.
I totally agree with you on the fact that this is a very interesting use case. This is something new when it comes to the blockchain itself. Just like the blockchain integration through NFTs, through crypto payments, the metaverse interactions for digital runway shows, for digital collections, it all was new back in the days, but it's all right here, right now, in a different form, adjusted, changed. Some brands are using it more, some brands stopped using it, but it's here. And I do believe DPPs on the blockchain are just getting to start this traction, but already pretty successfully, if you ask me. And I know that
If I just may add, when we look at products today, and this is something that's happening to me quite frequently, I sell a lot on Vistair Collective. And when you look at different products, and when you look at, for example, a Chanel bag, there's a little card that is its authentication. And if you don't have that card anymore, it's really hard for you to resell that product because even if you know it's real and you can take a picture, the serial little chip code under it, it's really hard to understand if it's actually the right one. And if it's authentic, and for the buyer, it's really risky to buy something that doesn't have that. So looking at DPPs and also being able to link those to NFC chips connected to products is just the most logical way to go forward. And I think, as you were saying, Alexandra, it's not even like, let's test it. First of all, 2026, 2027, it's about to be in EU legislation, and it doesn't only apply to EU because all of these US companies want to sell in the EU, so they're going to have to do it as well. And it's normally like California that adopts after the EU, and it's probably going to happen that way and go along. But it's really important to understand that this is something that already exists. It's just not digitalized in the luxury world. And blockchain is the best way to create these digital product passports and really assure authenticity, provenance, ownership, resale, repair, and all these type of services that you can have after sale.
I mean, like the fact that still in 2024, you need to hold this piece of paper in 10 years from now to confirm your authenticity, identity, or whatsoever. This is ludicrous to me. This is crazy. Come on. So I do believe DPPs, in the way how we describe them and the way how we see them and the way how brands start integrating them, is at least a very logical next step for luxury brands onboarding this technology. Victor, you were one of the very first people who learned about SIM dropping its DPPs on Solana. And I'm not talking about yesterday's announcement, right, Alexandra? We've met with Victor back in the days during Paris Blockchain Week Summit when it was still in the work. We didn't share any details. It was still under the curtain, but we gave you some hints. We gave you some ideas that, hey, something big is happening at NFC Lisbon. We want you to be there. We want you to cover it. We want you to participate in it. You had some time to learn more the topic of DPPs. You have some time to learn more through the lens of SIM, joining, building it on Solana, DPPs in general, DPPs regulations. What is your take on the future of DPPs? What is your take on DPPs innovating fashion here today?
Again, thank you for inviting me and trusting me with the news before. So we were saying blockchain is the best solution for DPPs. I would say it's the only one. DPPs are going to be the onboarding use case for the rest of digital fashion. There are going to be many use cases, but they're more like hard to apprehend, to understand for now. Why DPPs are, I would say, pretty easy to understand for brands and for customers. So everybody gets why it's useful. So it's not the future, it's the present of fashion, I think. It's going to be the first use case to work for fashion. And I think most people would agree, would use it. No, you don't need to be in crypto to use it. You don't need to be a big tech person to understand it and use it. So once this is going to work, then we can talk about metaverse and stuff like this and the use of digital twins. And, you know, like, because right now it's the digital fashion helping the physical fashion. But one day we're only going to talk about completely digital. But before we do this, we need to see something succeed. And I think DPPs are going to be that solution that succeeds first.
And I also believe that one day it won't be about digital fashion and traditional fashion. It will be just about fashion where everything is together. Technology, traditional, physical pieces, customer journey, brand identity, everything in the mix called fashion. At least, in my opinion, this is how it should be done. Still, for those of you who might have some questions about DPPs, might be wondering why DPPs now and why are we finishing our panel discussion with DPPs topic, with a huge topic. After this panel, Alexandra will have a keynote presenting SIEM's DPPs, where she will be able to share with you more on the regulations that we briefly mentioned today and the use cases of DPPs. So those of you who are really interested in DPPs and still have something to ask, something to learn, I believe we all do. Stay with us. Other than that, guys, it was a pleasure, as always. And today it was super special because today we are kicking off day 2 of Fashion Stage. And I know from my experience that kicking off the new day is always much harder than coming when the audience is already prepared. But there is also some benefits. All of them are still fresh. All of them are still listening to you, not just because they're your friends or partners, but because they're interested. They're fresh. They came here for some knowledge, for some alpha, for some info. Thank you very much for joining me today on this amazing journey. And thank you guys for starting the day strong with us. See you, everyone.
Good.